They have a security wall. It's a gated community. Now, these are things you don't associate with ordinary Kenyans. If we left the private sector to deliver this house at 7.650, you got a number hapo hivi. Then you go to a bank, when the HF ama KCB ama hizo zingine, you are lucky to get more than 10 years financing. Yes. And I don't know how much journalists earn. But let me take a guess. That amount there, most of us in this room cannot afford. And probably they don't earn that kind of money, what it will cost you. But I know a thing or two about SACCO model and housing. Because me, I was born in an informal settlement in Nakuru, Bondeni. That's where I was born. Usiangalie tumbo yangu mnadhani mimi nilizaliwa huko nini. So, my father was a civil servant, was earning 6,500 shillings. He joined a SACCO called Ngwatanero. Huko Bahati, mnajua. We went and bought land, just like everybody else. We got a quarter of an acre. And we started the home ownership journey. 9 years later, by the time my dad was passing away, we had never finished building that house. Investors. And we tell them, the Kenyan government is providing land at no cost, like I have done in Park Road, for Kenyans to own homes. The Kenyan government is committed to bring infrastructure to that site. People, that your parents, the first thing as you got into the job market, they gave you a unit. That is how we are able to do it on this particular program. Hussein, have I done justice?
Actually, kuna swali kweli?
I think hawana. Nisaidie na kalamu.
Okay. Okay, I'll start with
Good hours who you invite there. They like to take cheap shots. That hawa akina Hinga watajenga nyumba in one day. What is it? How soon can I get that? The list? Huh?
It was just about if you opt in now, if the finance bill goes through.
Yes.
How soon can one?
There is construction that is already going on. So already, please, and we are telling you, just start the journey today. Go and star 832#, start saving your money, and as soon as those units are complete, and continue saving. And remember, the 1,000 is the minimum, or the 2,500, that's the minimum. The more you save, the more it means when the deposit is required, you will have it. So we're just saying, put the kidogo ile amount, which is our offtake plan, but please save as much as possible. Imagine Mushiri, NTV. I have no clue about what you've spoken about. That is a private project. I do not have any information I've heard from you for the first time. So allow me not to comment on something that I have no idea about.
Shillings, an internal whistleblower came in. We had the Ethics and EACC rather actually acknowledge this letter by this internal whistleblower. So from where you sit, are you aware of this situation? And as a Kenyan whose money is quote unquote being played around with, what is my security when it comes to this? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Good afternoon. Jimmy Mbogo from KTN. I have a couple of questions. Bwana PS, when we were having this conversation around 4 years ago on the issue of 1.5 levy, one of the things that you mentioned is that they all
thing. Lakini tafadhali, don't be peddlers of fake news. Na wale jamaa wengine mko aidha huko pia mna balance kidogo. Kwa sababu wanatuchapa huko, then ile kazi ngumu tunajaribu, and because this is for the good of the country. All right? Asanteni sana, God bless you.
Thank you, PS. I think that question was answered, Lawrence, by the PS.
Our human capital is the single most important resource that we have as a nation, and we cannot afford to gamble with the only resource that we are sure about. We live in a world that changes at frenetic pace. Our education system must equip our children with the skills and values they need to thrive in the 21st century. These are the terms of reference for the education reforms that are currently in progress. Our goal is to create an education system that is responsive to the needs of our children, matches requirements of the market, and prepares them for the challenges and opportunities of the future. We will do what it takes to achieve this goal. We are investing in new technologies, developing new curricula, and improving teacher training to ensure that our children receive world-class education. We must empower our children to think critically, solve problems, and communicate effectively. We are committed to building a modern, dynamic, and inclusive education ecosystem that is student-centered, a system that molds minds, shapes character, and transforms young men and women into agents of innovation, productivity, and progress. A system that delivers knowledge, builds competencies, and instills purpose. And it is the reason why we're not only dealing with our basic education, we are also working round the clock to see how we can improve our tertiary education in our TVETs and in our universities as well. All those young men that will live here, they will go to TVETs, they will go to universities. As we all know, we have had serious challenges with our TVET and university education because of funding. And it is also the reason why we developed a new funding model where we are going to double the resources available for our TVET institutions from about 5.2 billion to 10 billion every year. And we are also going to enhance the available resources in our universities from about 44 billion to 82 billion every year. I did commit that we will continuously look at how education can evolve with the realities of our times and the requirements of our industry. We cannot afford to play hide and seek or guesswork with our education. It is the reason we have hired the largest cohort of teachers ever in the history of our country this year. It is the reason we will do it again next year. And I am persuaded beyond any doubt that even as we take, for those of us who can, take our children to academies, the children of other Kenyans must equally have the same education that is being taught elsewhere. And that is why from our day schools, all primary schools, public schools, we must give ourselves the best possible chance for our children to have access to the best available education by making sure that we avail infrastructure and we avail the teachers to be able to teach. This project affirms that when we come together as government, parents, and teachers and pool our efforts, ideas, and resources, we can accomplish great things for our children, for our schools, and for our country. This school has a rich history and a track record of producing eminent professionals, some of whom have gone on to play leading roles in commerce, in health, engineering, public service, and other sectors of our society. In total, 20,424 young men have left this institution and are out serving this country and the world in various capacities. I think that's monumental.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. P.S. and Hussein. This is Moses Meso from KBC, Radio Ingo, Saluya, the Netla station. My issue here is who qualifies for those houses? Because you remember the previous beneficiary for the affordable housing and social housing, they rented them. People are given houses, they bought houses, at the end of the day, they rented those houses. Do they really qualify for those houses? Then my issue here is the policies that we're going to put across to ensure that those houses goes to the right people. Because people who acquire those houses must stay in those houses. But people are acquiring them and renting them to other people. Then look at the 3% deduction. We already have people who are retiring in less than 2 years. Are they going to be deducted? Then also there are those who are retiring and they have already acquired their own houses. How are you going to deduct from such like people? Thank you very much.
The lady there.
Good afternoon. Business reporter with Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, Regina.
Sorry, who?
Regina Manyara,
From?
KBC.
KBC.
Business. Now, what happens to those who have already onboarded in contributing to the Boma Yetu platform? This was also under the previous regime, under the Big Four agenda. Secondly, what incentives then are you offering the informal sector, and how will you rope in the informal sector to contribute to this national fund? Thirdly, with the rate of construction going on, you know, the existing projects, we've been tracking what has been happening under the Big Four agenda, and also with the, you know, the report for the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, they're indicating that we know we are in short supply against high demand as far as urban population and settlement is concerned. You've mentioned the incentives that you have given to the manufacturing sector in passing, you know, to just give them land, infrastructure, and such. But when we're talking about affordable housing, we're looking at the cost of inputs, and this is raw materials. That has been a bane in as far as construction and building is concerned. Have you factored in this particular proposal?
Thank you.
Yeah, many Kenyans are struggling economically, and the issue is this the priority for the government to put in place instead of waiting maybe the economy to be at least somewhere where Kenyans can be affordable? The second question is, sorry?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
So the concern with Kenyans is, why can't government make affordable the building materials for Kenyans to build their houses on their own, instead of making sure that they contribute 3% to build? Why don't you make the building materials cheaper for every Kenyan to build his or her own house?
Okay. Finally, the lady here, then we'll do another round.
My name is Flora Limukie from TV47. My first question is, the housing fund has been met with a lot of public resistance. So is there a plan to perhaps put up like a government portal where Kenyans can assess the project status and also the performance report over time? And also, how do you then intend to broaden the contributors base, bearing in mind that this may raise housing challenges for people at the bottom of the pyramid, and this is bottom-up economic model government. So how do you then intend to broaden the contributors base or tax base?
All right. Okay. Right. Very, very, very quickly, I think Hussein answered the question about the data. Now, 9 billion that you're going to construct, and you're saying that you're going to have it in every part of the country, is the pooling of fund. Now, as we speak right now, and we are going to upload this information, the last question, Boma Yangu is a marketplace where you need to go. There is a lot of information, and we are continuously uploading. What you're going to find, as we speak right now, I have 524 parcels of land that I have identified in major towns all over the country. Number two, we conducted housing surveys. We have conducted housing survey. We just come from a census as well, which is part of the data that you're talking about. And we asked, remember in the census, there were so many questions we asked you about housing. How many people want to own, how many people want, and where? Number three, on Boma Yangu portal, and I want to say, please, start the journey today, it's *832#. When you get to Boma Yangu, you choose where you want a house. That's one of the questions we ask you. Where do you want to own a home? You choose. And that also advises. So it's not just going to be blind undertaking. However, we are starting a program where we are putting 200 units in every constituency. And these 200 units will be taken because I can promise you, even if you don't think there is demand in Marral or in Karachuonyo or in Nyansiongo, in Nyamira, we know, because first of all, government is an employer. We have got so many people in there. So we're not going to create, we're not just going to do this thing carelessly, like just build, and then without due diligence, as you said. What is the end game? Like if you lack someone to buy. Actually, if you lack someone to buy, and I highly doubt you're going to have that. Sorry, I am very normally animated. This phone is the one which is in danger. If you do that, guess what? We have got people who are providing public service, police, defense, NYS, and all those people. We have got, and they are in every part of the country. You have got firefighters, you have got all those people that you need to house in some of those places, and they will still be repaying every month. So the houses will be taken up. Moses KBC, who qualifies? Anybody can qualify. But just like your SACCO and other SACCOs, you have got rules of engagement. What are the rules? The rules are that there is a prioritization. If one of the questions we ask you in the Boma Yangu is, are you a first-time homeowner? If you don't have a home, and Hussein here has a home, and you are going for the same unit, we will prioritize you who doesn't have a home. We even go further and say, how do we incentivize young people, so age, to own a home? We also say, if you have disability or you're able-bodied differently, if you tell us, because that's one of the questions that we ask you, we prioritize you so that you choose, first of all, do you want to go on the ground floor? All that information is available on Boma Yangu. The second question from Moses is a very good question about the policies on the issue of owner-occupier. I can tell you, when you sign the contract, those people that are living in Park Road, they signed a contract that says, I will live on that house. Okay? But tell me, how do you police enterprise? How do you police somebody who has been offered, because this is actually what is happening in Park Road, that 3-bedroom where they're paying 19,000 to us, they're getting rent of 55,000. If we stop and try to force people now to do that, we will have lost the plan. First of all, let me help you get a home. Okay? The only thing I can tell you in the policy, you cannot buy 2. And the other thing is, you can't sell that unit until 7 years. Because that unit is so subsidized. If I allowed you to sell, what are you going to do today? You buy 3 million, you sell it for 7.6. Sindio? Then you buy another 2. So we have those safeguards under the housing fund. Moses, if you're retiring, if you read the what is in the finance bill, it says you get back your money at the earlier of retiring, death, or 7 years. So whichever comes first, you're going to get back your money. So if you retire in 2 years' time, you get back your money, whatever you've saved, okay, because it is your money. Regina, what happens to those who are already onboarded? We have transitioned from telecom platform to e-citizen, and we transitioned every one of them. So your money is still there. In fact, as a matter of fact, those people that have saved, I have 1.8 billion of their money. And when you go to *832#, you can be able to find out, there is a place where you say, what is my balance? You will be able to see it. So your money is still there. What incentives to informal sector? The informal sector indeed get additional incentives. So with the Boma Yangu, with the housing fund, we will finance Kenyans at 5%, as Hussein said. We will finance Kenyans for up to 30 years. No, so some of you are saying 30 years that you're going to get stuck with 30 years. If you pay it in 5 years, there's no penalty. But we will enable you to pay based on the size of your pocket. For the informal sector, informal settlements, first of all, the interest rate is 3%. And those numbers are not thumbsuck. We have worked backwards. How can I be able to help a Kenyan to pay 5,000 shillings? So we start from the answer, and then you go back to the unknown, and we work it out. Okay? The people who work in the informal sector are allowed to save through the voluntary scheme. So the housing fund has two schemes. It has the mandatory and it has the voluntary. But the one thing that I want, and it's a good question, is that you will never own a home unless you have registered on Boma Yangu and you are contributing, whether mandatory or voluntary. So that's very important. Those are some of the rules, because we don't want you're contributing for people who are not contributing and then they get a house. They must contribute whatever the amount is. And by the way, they are contributing more than us. I have a group of Matatu stage workers. Those are touts and drivers that have come together and given me an MOU, and they say, should these houses start construction all over the country, we are going to be saving 300 shillings a day. I have it on me, because they don't have another chance of getting a home elsewhere. Vincent, have I finished Regina's question? Okay. The cost of construction. First of all, one of the most painful costs in construction is VAT. Because VAT is real for our industry, and I'm not going to get technical, but we have written off VAT. So that house, that affordable house in Park Road, there was no VAT on the cement, no VAT on the steel. And that's how we were able to drive it down. There are other incentives. Like if we import any material, there are incentives. There is when you use Kenya Railways, SGR, you don't pay, the railway development levy is different from other people carrying materials, and so on and so forth. Vincent Afande. Good question. And you will introduce a very important topic about the economics. Okay? We all know what is happening. There is a global crisis, and the incomes have shrunk, and there is real pain. And sometimes, and I know it looks like we are insensitive to the people. But, good people, how do you get out of a global economic crisis? One of the ways to do it is to invest in yourselves. You must create a consumptive demand, all right? A consumptive demand. And that's why we are saying, if we build these 200,000 homes, how many new jobs are we going to bring into the economy? That's number one. Can you imagine how many doors are we going to construct? Those doors will be constructed by Kenya, because one of the policies, and someone is asking about the policy, we will not buy doors from China. We will not import doors from India or windows. There are 69 items that will be produced here. And actually, if you are in Mwingi, they will have to be produced in Mwingi, because we want to create local jobs, not jobs in Nairobi. Okay? And now think about housing as a long supply chain. So it is actually good economics. And what we have said is, what is it that we can be able to contribute together so that we create these stimulus into the economy, and incomes are going to rise and more jobs are going to be created, and we attract foreigners to come and bring in the dollars that we need. You know, the dollars are, we have a shortage of dollars. But I have got over 200 investors, and all they are saying is, if you give me an off-take plan, because I don't believe in your story. Your story is a very emotional story about Wanjiko owning a home, about the Juakali artisan owning a home, a shoe shiner owning a home. But hey, my money is not emotional. All right? So me, I just want to know that I'll get paid. And how do you guarantee that they will get paid? You can tell them, if you tell them that you're going to get paid, it becomes a government guarantee, which is as good as debt. And you know what is going on, the conversation we're having about debt in our country. So we are saying these cash flows that we have pulled together, and they are driven by a law, but are not bankrupting people, because we are saying it is maximum of 2,500. Average Kenyan will pay 1,000. You tell me today, how many houses can you be able to get for 1,000 shillings? So this 1,000 shillings, you're taking it out of this